Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Got this one lock that just don't want to act right. I washed my hair today, so my hair is kind of unruly. I left the twist in and dried it, and I actually liked the twist, but some of them just didn't do right. I guess that's hair for you, right? But anyway, so um, today, we're going to talk about the difference between a signing service and a signing company. And I know you're thinking like that's the same thing. Well, yeah, it has some differences, and I'm going to share that with you guys today. But before I jump right on into the topic, I want to introduce myself for those of you who may be viewing for the very first time, or say hey to those of you who are tuning back in. So my name is Bergeau, also known as Be Elise. I am I am the owner of Be Elise Notary Services, as well as the founder and president of the Notary Education Group. Every Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I come on the channel live to talk to you guys about notary and business related topics and share some quick tips and answer your questions in real time. All right, so that's what I'm here to do today. Give me a second, I got a message. Let me keep my phones up here just in case. All right, so let me pull up my talking points so we can get started. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, please let me know who you are and where you're tuning in from. I'd like to know where all my viewers are located. See how far of a reach I'm making, you know? Let me open this page like this. Yeah, let's see. Here we are. All right. So let's get into this topic for today. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the difference between a signing service and a signing company. I'm gonna be messing with this lock all day, just so y'all know. So don't look at me like, will she leave her here alone? It's gonna annoy the crap out of me. So signing services, all right. Those are the independent notary-owned businesses that hire notaries to facilitate real estate signings, closings, even estate planning, all right, or general notary work to begin with. Just any type of notary-related document, they hire notaries to do that. So they're the middleman, right? They go out and they meet people. They meet with companies that would need notary services on a regular basis. They network with them, build a relationship with them, and draw up a contract so that they can be the person who would hire the notaries to complete the notary work. As a result, when they hire you, they pay you a portion of the amount of money that they charge the people that they are providing services for. Now, that fee could be $250. All right. That out of that $250, they may keep 100. They may pay $50 to the person who is scheduling the appointment, or 25, and then pay the other fees to the platform, and then pay you the rest. All right. So you want to get out of the misconception of they're getting 250 and only giving me 100. They're not getting that 150 that you think they're getting. They're paying other people and parties out of that money. And so they may not be getting the 150. They may be getting 175. You just don't know. All right. And then they have to set aside money for, in fact, if they do have to pay you a little bit more because you may be the only one available and you have to drive a distance, or maybe they need to pay a little bit more because you have to provide a witness and they can't find a witness to provide with you, so forth. Okay. But just because you see on there that notary fee is this amount does not mean that they're giving you this and they're getting the rest. That's just not how that works. All right. That if they did that, then they wouldn't have been be able to hire other people to work with them. So that's the signing service. All right. That's how it's set up. Now, with the signing services, they do pay you 30 days or more out from the time that the actual signing closes. So not from the time that you complete the signing, the time from when it closes. All right. And there could be several reasons why they take so long to pay. It's really not advantageous to us independent notaries because, for example, I'm full time. I pay myself twice a month. So you paying me 30, 45, 50, 60 days, sometimes 90 days after I've completed the job does not benefit me at all because it's going to delay how often I can pay myself. All right. Um, so that's the signing service. All right. Now, the signing company, they're usually a bigger organization, okay, that works directly with the banks, okay, sometimes the title companies, and sometimes even some attorney offices will hire these bigger companies just because they may have had bad experience with the smaller services, like the signing services that are independently owned. So with those bigger companies, though, because they pretty much have their processes in a better space than the independent signing services. They have more people working, so they're able to pay you sooner. All right. Now, the thing with the signing companies is, even though it can be easier to work with them because they will pay you within 7 to 14 days. They communication is much better than independently owned signing services. Somebody is always available, whereas the independent signing service, they may also be a notary well, they are a notary, but they may also be doing work and may not always be able to answer your call. Or they may have several different people working for them that don't all communicate. So you get all of this miscommunication, and it's just very frustrating. But with signing companies, because they're bigger, they kind of have that better as well. They're also more open to listening to how state specific things go for each notary. So you can tell them, hey, I know what you guys are asking, but in my state, I can do XYZ and I can't do ABC. And so they would be like, oh, okay, we didn't know that. Or you have it where they do know. Okay. So also, you may get more work for a little pay, but don't be so discouraged about the little pay because bigger corporations, they most times will honor your counter fee. All right. And I don't know why, but most times they will honor your counter fee. So you can counter and just have a good reason. You have some notaries where they want to counter, but they absolutely have no reason why. They just want more money. Okay. And honestly, they don't care about all of the trainings and stuff that you got. The training is for us. Okay. The training is not for the client. Yeah, they would like for you to be trained, but bottom line is if you're a notary public and you know how to notarize documents, you already know what you're doing. You should anyway. So us getting further education, that is not something that they really care about. And they just want to know that you know how to notarize documents. All right, point blank. Many times you don't even have to explain their documents because, excuse me, they provide their people with copies. My experience with signing companies, the bigger organizations, they actually provide their signers with copies of the documents. Okay. It's the smaller companies where you may get there and they're just seeing the documents for the first time. That can be very annoying. They may, those, so the signing services, sometimes their clients will provide documents like last minute, and that could be frustrating. Okay. My experience with signing companies, I'm not going to say I never get documents at the last minute, but most times I don't. Most times they kind of got their stuff figured out and they're kind of on board with it. Um, so that's the difference between independently owned, notary owned signing services versus signing companies. Now, you guys know that I am a part of some of the notary groups. I may not always post or respond because I'm really just watching. I'm watching and I'm listening. I got my ear out there because it's important to be in the know. You don't always have to say something just because you're in a group. And there are many of us like that, because I feel like sometimes as soon as you say something in the groups, people want to be so combative. People have the time, and I don't. I don't have the time. So I sit and I watch and I keep my ear out. And I am seeing that many notaries are not renewing their commission. They're no longer interested in doing loan signings or real estate signings. And they're really leaning more towards just doing general notary work, which I understand because if you're working with the independently notary owned signing services, it can be super frustrating. Okay. You want to narrow it down to those who have been around for a while and they kind of got their processes in order. Unfortunately, sometimes no matter how long they've been around, they just may not ever have their stuff together. You have some companies who they really don't care about the processes. They just want to make the money. And they're not going to be around very long doing that. But I do have some signing services that are owned by professionals who care about their operations. And I have a list. Okay, I make a list because it's important to have a list of signing services you want to work with. You have so many people who are opening up new signing services right now. And I'm just not, and I know it's like, you're not going to know how they work if you never work with them, but it's just really hard to trust them because I don't want to do all the work and then not be compensated or, just I don't want to have a bad experience. So that's kind of just where I'm at with that. I will share with you guys though, some of the trusted signing companies that I work with are Mortgage Connect, Townsgate, Signature Closers, Service Link. I don't work with Amrock, but I have heard that Amrock is a good company to work with. BankServe, The Closing Exchange, and Old Republic Title. All right. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat here for you guys. If you're not signed up with any of them, I highly encourage you to do so. Go ahead and sign up with them. These are the companies that I work with. Like I said, they do offer, okay, their base fee is low. I will tell you that. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because I don't want you to be like, oh, she told me to sign up with them and they offer me a HELOC for $45. Yeah, they will do that. All you got to do is counter. Most times, okay, I will say 75% of the time, they always honor my counter and give me the signing. So don't be afraid to counter. All right. And if you have a reason why you're countering, just let them know. I am available, but this location is a little far for me to drive. Would you mind bumping it up $40 or whatever? And most times, if they don't have anyone else that's close enough to do it, they will give it to you. Okay. So don't be scared to counter. Okay, guys. Now, don't think that they're offering you a $45 signing and they're going to give you $250. That probably will not happen. I have had it happen a couple of times, but it was because it was last minute and they didn't have anyone else and they know that I was super close to the person. And since I was available, they're like, well, we just got to give it to her because she's available. Okay. But that's not going to happen all the time. And I will say the most I've made on a closing countering is $150. Okay. Now, why do you think that the signing companies are more reliable than the signing services? Well, they have long-standing reputations. They've been around, and the big banks like working with them because they've had a lot of success in doing so. They have no reason to want to work with the signing service that's independently owned, and they may not. The banks may not want to contract with you independently when they can work with the signing company who has access to notaries everywhere. Hey, Stephanie, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Signing services, it can be really tricky to work with them. Like I said, you got to narrow it down to those who worked with who are very reputable, who are easy to work with. Signing services that are easy to work with, I will tell you. Comfortable Closings, the closing signing service, Shasta Signings. What's another one I got on my list? Loan Pro, Notary Closers, PMA Signings. That's just to name a few. Oh, let's see what Stephanie said. I went to market at Wells Fargo and they told me they work with signing service companies versus independent notaries. Yeah. And that makes sense because a lot of the times the banks, they'll get a contract with the company, because banks don't want to, you remember, it's all about liability for them. Okay. So working independently with a notary may be way high of a liability than working with a actual company, because that company has to have a higher amount of insurance and all that stuff. So it's to be expected. But you have so many notaries who are getting out of the game, to where those of us who are left, who have a good clientele and everything, we're just going to end up getting more work. So you guys got to be prepared for that. Another thing to mention about just doing real estate signings, period. The pain point, the biggest pain point for notaries, okay, is the cost of supplies and tools. Being an independent notary doing real estate closings and just working with attorneys, period, you're going to have a higher cost in expenses. You just are. Okay. Now, you do have some companies where they'll print the documents for you and you just have to show up at their office to do the signing. But what if they do need for you to print out the documents, scan the documents at the table? You want to be prepared. You don't want to just rely on the fact that, well, I work with companies who don't need me to do that, so I'm not going to. That doesn't make any sense. You always want to be prepared for if you are asked to do that. The cost of tools, all right, to facilitate these type of signings is a lot of money. Okay, you got to have a laser printer. Okay, no inkjet, laser printer. Okay, and I've explained to you guys the difference. So that will be on the video, one of my old videos. Paper. I order a lot of letter paper. I just got letter paper delivered yesterday. I go through letter like crazy. Not so much as legal, but letter, I go through it like crazy. Ink pens. Sometimes my signers keep my pens. So I have to keep pens. Okay, I just ordered more pens last month, and so I still have about half a pack left. Don't know why. I guess some people just like ink pens, Folders, paper clips. You got to make sure that you have staple. You would make sure you have ink for your stamp, because if you're doing a lot of signings, that stamp is going to run low eventually. Even though it's self-inking, you just got to re-ink the little pad and you'll be good to go. I literally just had to re-ink my pad last month because it was starting to get really light. If you're going to be scanning documents at the table, you got to have a good scanner, and you're going to want one that self-feeds. Okay, so you don't want one where you got to do one page at a time. You don't want to rely on your cell phone scanner because sometimes it is not reliable. I mean, if you're scanning maybe 1 to 5 pages, it's fine, but you're going to want to have a nice scanner that is mobile that you can take with you. Okay. And in having that, you're going to want to have a laptop. You can even have, what is it called? It's a tablet, but it can also be a laptop too. Something that's going to connect to the scanner so that when you scan the documents, you can save it as a file on that device and email it or upload it to the portal. All right. Let me see. Stephanie said, agreed. The cost of toner, paper, etc. Laser printers cost more than inkjet. Cases of paper, good ink pens, no gel because they bleed. Yeah, you're gonna have to have more. And if you're not using an e-journal, you're gonna want to have a good journal that's gonna record everything that you're gonna be doing. All right. And yeah, And then another pain point, last minute changes. And I get it because many of us work a W-2 job. When I was working a W-2 job, last minute changes was a deal breaker for me. Because if I've already made plans to come on my lunch break to go do a signing and you made changes at the last minute, I may not have time to get back to work before my lunch break is over. So now I got to have you reassign, and if you got to reassign the last minute, the companies are probably going to not want to work with you because that's just an inconvenience to them. Just as much as it's an inconvenience to you, it's an inconvenience to them. Okay. Low or no communication. I get it. Especially because some signing services, they have several people communicating with you and those people are not on the same page. And it's very frustrating and annoying. I understand. Especially when you're trying to call them to get answers. Because to me, it makes sense if you know that the signing is going to be after hours, somebody needs to be available after hours. Am I right or wrong? You know that I'm going to do the signing at 7, 8 o'clock at night. If there are questions that I cannot answer, somebody needs to be able to answer the phone to answer those questions. For example, I had a signing that did not go through. It was 8 o'clock at night that I went to the person's home, and they wanted to know why there were 3 different settlement statements in there, and all 3 of them had different numbers. I don't know. I don't know. They did not pay me for that signing. They only paid me $25 for the trip fee. And they said it was because I didn't do enough to get in contact with the person they needed to talk to. Even though the signer themselves called and left several voicemails, I called and I put the person on speaker so that the signers could hear that I'm not getting through to the person they told me to call. They still decided to only pay me a trip fee. So yeah, that could be a really big pain point, okay? Because I printed over 100 pages twice only to not be compensated. And I traveled there and everything. And it was, it was a pain, but I kept moving. I didn't let that one tell me, okay, I'm done. No. Surprisingly, that's only happened twice in my whole career. And I've been a notary for 5 years now. So it's not enough for me to just throw in the towel. Things happen. I absolutely understand why that person didn't want to sign because I'm trying to figure out why all these documents got different figures if I'm doing this to do this. And, so if it's in black and white and they don't understand it, I can read it to them. But if the numbers don't match, numbers don't match. And we as notaries, we don't put together the numbers. So it's not something that we can explain. All right. And then I've seen a lot of people complaining about the witness requirements. I totally get it. You have some companies who they will provide an extra notary to go out and be a witness, so you don't have to. And so you can always ask them that. So if you don't have, so that way you don't have to come out of your pocket to pay for the witness, the company does. But if they are asking you to provide a witness, you just make sure that you are going to be compensated for that because that person is going to want their money. And I will tell you, I use witnesses a lot, and sometimes it's really hard for me to pay because I have to wait 30 days until they pay me my notary fee. So what I do is I end up having to pay out of my pocket. And sometimes I'll just let my witnesses know, hey, I'm not going to be able to pay you like I wanted to. Can I please pay you the next week or whenever I see some funds become available? And they're usually very understanding because they know that if I could, okay, which most times I do, pay them at the end of the week. And they know if I did not pay them or could not pay them, they know it's got to be a reason because I'm never going to not pay them for no reason. You know what I'm saying? And that's only happened, I think, maybe a handful of times I can really think. I don't even think it's been that much, but it does happen, and it could be very frustrating, when they expect for you to provide a witness all the time. Yeah, I do get it. But you guys also have to understand that you have signers from everywhere. All right. And if a signer is in a location where they don't know anybody, they're not going to be able to provide a witness. And if the documents require a witness, which most deed signings do, either the company figures it out or they will put it upon you to see if you can help. And they don't try to do it as an inconvenience. It's just, if you have someone that you can bring, we would rather you set it up than for us to try to figure out and try to find another notary that's available. And then not to mention another notary that's available for $25. A lot of notaries are not going to leave their house for $25. And this is why they have a hard time being able to provide a witness. And so this is why they would ask you, because some of us notaries do have a list. Like, I have a list of people I can use to be a witness, and they don't mind getting paid $25 because to them, they're showing up, they're going to be there for maybe 7 to 10 minutes and then they're leaving. And so to them, it's not a big deal. And depending on how many signings I have, they'll make $100 for me for the week, and they didn't have to do anything for it, really. Okay. So key takeaways here. All right. And for you to consider, it is something that you need to consider. Signing services equal 30-day pay. Okay. They may have a high volume, but they also have less control over what goes on. Signing companies pay sooner, 7 to 14 days. They have better relationships with the companies they're working with, and they can provide you consistent work. The pay may not always be what you want, but never forget that you can always counter. And 75% of the time, they do accept the counter. All right. Real estate signings do require more tools. So general notary, all you need is a journal. Everybody should be using a journal. I don't care if your state requires it or not. Ink pens, your notary stamp, and a bag to carry it all. Okay. But with real estate signings and estate planning too, you may need more equipment, and that's where you may want to think about jumping in, because some people, they go all into this and they really don't know everything it takes to get the business. When I tell people, they see me do my job and they're like, I want to be a notary. That's all you got to do. No, it's not. This is just the result of everything I did. But on the back end, just because you become a notary does not mean that you're going to have an email blast going out telling everybody that you're a notary. It takes a lot of work for you to meet people, build relationships, and get the business. Okay, especially for somebody to trust you enough to want to do business with you. It's just a process. And for some of us, it's easy. And for some of us, it's not. I always tell people, for me, it took almost 12 months before I started seeing some continued business and getting some clientele. It was tough. I would get business here and there, but it wasn't enough for me to be where I am today full time. I did a lot of networking. I don't do as much networking anymore because all of the networking that I did paid off. So now I'm in the process of just making sure that I keep my relationships going with the people that I did meet. And those same people from my networking, they refer me out. So it made it to where I have to have less effort in trying to get opportunities. Opportunities literally come to me because my network is awesome. Okay, I meet so many new people. But how did I get there? It took a lot. It absolutely took a lot. Stephanie said you have to continue showing up and putting in the work. You do. You absolutely do. And you do all the networking, and eventually you won't have to network anymore. You will go from having to go to networking events to where your network is inviting you to events. I've been to several events where my network has invited me so that they can introduce me to other opportunities. And that's the goal. The goal is to not have to be out there meeting people all the time. Oh, I got to get out there. I got to get it. No, that's not the goal. The goal is not for you to have to network all the time. The goal is for you to start out meeting people and then building on those relationships. You meet the people, you figure out what people are good to work with, and you start building on those relationships. And after a while, you'll be just sitting at home and people will be giving you the business, referring you. Okay. Stephanie said, networking is key. Everyone take advantage of them as well as lunch and learns. Yes. That part takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. It really does. You guys are only seeing the end result of all the work, but getting out there, and I get it. I get it. A lot of notaries are getting in the business because they're seeing the end result of all the hard work. But I'm telling you that this was not easy. It was not easy for me. The year that I decided I was going to go full time, I went to 2 networking events a month. I committed to 2 a month. I couldn't do more than 2 a month because, I'm a mom, I have kids, and I was working a full-time job. So I still needed to have time for my husband, time for myself, God forbid, right? But doing all of that, it was 2 a month. Doing all of that helped me to realize that not everyone is going to be open to working with you, which was okay. This is why I had to do 2 a month. But after meeting those people who did want to work with me, they started referring me out to people, introducing me to people. And that is where the real fruit of my labor came from. People who took a chance and was like, I'm going to work with her and see where it goes. And after working with me and being happy with my work, they started referring me out to people. And so I literally have days where I feel like I'm not doing enough, but everything that I've done has gotten me to this point. So I've definitely did enough. And I'm definitely still making connections with people that I never had to go and get, never had to go and meet. And that means something. So I'm sorry that a lot of you decided that you no longer want to do it. You want to get out the game. I really wish that there was something more I could tell you, but that is just really where it's at. You just really have to get out here. You have to put it in your schedule. Put it in your schedule that, look, I want to make this business work, and I'm going to commit to doing this, this, and that. You got to make a commitment to do it. Networking twice a month was really difficult for me. Really difficult, especially when your kids are getting older. I have 2 kids, and they're getting older, and they want to do stuff. So I can't always put networking into my schedule. And as of right now, I really can't put networking into my schedule, but you have to get out there and you have to be seen. You're not going to get it from your computer. Sitting at home on your computer, you're not going to get it. You're just not. And you want to be able to get out there and meet people who are looking for people like you. And this is why I push and I encourage, go to networking events. All right. Meet the companies that are working with the signing companies. Okay. Signing companies, that is where you're going to make your money. Okay. Signing services is where you're going to get your experience, but signing companies is where you're going to make the money. I work with the signing companies so much now that they will actually call me to ask me if I'm available, as opposed to sending out the email and the text drafts, because, first come, first serve for those. But when they start calling you and they know you by name, that means a lot. And that's what you want to work for. So for those of you who are staying in the business, definitely make sure that you are signed up with these companies. If you are already signed up with those companies that I shared, you already got a leg in the game. All right. You just got to start taking them. And then, if they are not accepting your counters, take the job. Take the job, do the job, let them know you and know your work. And after a while, every counter that you give them, they will accept it. And I know you're like, oh, I don't want to do no HELOC for $65. I get it. But you know what? You're not going to get to your end goal by turning away money. All right. As a business owner, you're never going to recoup 100% of the expenses and effort that you put into creating your business. No company does. So I'm not just telling you this. You have Fortune 500 companies who never recoup 100% of their expenses. They just don't. But because they continue to get business, they continue to stay afloat. Okay? You want to, in your mind, know that every effort that you put into your business, you're not going to make the money back for that. All right. It's just not possible. There's got to be some point in your mind that you know that you're doing this to keep the business going, to keep yourself updated, to be the person of knowledge, the person that people refer people to, because you're going to make money. You're going to make the money. I recently just did my taxes. And I know you're like, what? Like the deadline passed? Yeah, I know. But I was scared to do my taxes. And I had no idea that I was going to come out the way I did. I came out really good and I didn't have anything to worry about. And I don't even have to pay that much taxes because I have a really good tax preparer who knew about Notary Public and how to do my deductions and write-offs and all of that stuff. And so in the end, my expenses were covered, but in the front end, you're not going to see it. You're just not. Okay. So that is all I have for today. Okay. I wanted to talk about the difference between the signing services and signing companies. It's your choice on what you want to work with, but I don't want you to be discouraged. I don't want you to get out the game because, you're tired of doing real estate closings. I get it. It is very frustrating. It is very time consuming, but it's not going nowhere. Okay, just because you decided not to do it doesn't mean that real estate closings are not going to happen. It just means it's going to be more work for people like me who decided that I do want to do it all, because surprisingly, I am not just in this business for the money. I am in this business to make and be a part of changes in people's lives, good and bad. And it's just very fulfilling. It's a very fulfilling business, being a notary and doing notary work. You didn't know some of those. Oh, good. I'm glad that I shared those with you then. Go ahead and sign up with them. You're welcome, Stephanie. It's when you think about it, it's not really a difference, but there's enough of a difference for you to pay attention to and say, huh, okay. Because like I tell you, the companies on a bigger scale, they pay you. They will pay you. You got to ask for it, but they will pay you. Okay. I get paid in 7 days, 14 days. I never have to wait 30 days to be paid by those signing companies that I named to you guys. Okay. And I'll share them again with you. Let me see if I just have it already saved right here. Yep. I'll share them again with you guys. Check them out. Sign up with them. And good luck. The next time I talk to you guys, I think that I want to show you guys my mobile setup because I forgot that since I no longer have my other car, I have more room and I want to show you my new setup that's in my car. I mean, it's the same setup, but like I said, I got more space. So we'll talk about that the next time. But congratulations, Stephanie. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Good. I'm happy to hear that. They're a really good company to work with. To me, I've had nothing but good experiences. Like I said, I did have that one time where I went out to that person's home, but they didn't pay me a trip fee. They paid me the whole fee. They paid me the whole fee. Service Link, what I like about them is you can share your calendar with them and they will automatically assign you work. So I can be out and Service Link will send me a text saying you've been assigned and it'll go right on my calendar. And all I got to do is call the people and call the people and confirm. Okay. And I love working with them. And no, they don't pay a whole lot. They pay $75, but I'm going to get my money in a week. And that's all I really care about. You do enough of them, $75 adds up. I will tell you that. Okay. Good, Violet. Me too. I love being a notary. All right, guys. So I'm gonna let y'all go. Thank you for tuning in. Definitely sign up for those companies that I share with you guys. And yeah, you guys have a good evening. I'll see you next Sunday. Enjoy your week. Bye. Oh wait, hold on. I hope to get to that level next year, sharing my calendar. I love to ask. Yes, it makes it so much easier. So much easier for them to just put stuff on your calendar. And then you don't have to wait to accept it or fight to see if you'll be assigned. So yeah. All right, guys. Let me go. I will talk to you guys next Sunday. Have a good night.